will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city and make it a better place to live and work. Amen. If you please honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilor Martin. Here. Councilor Madonza. Here. Councilor Mercia.
Here.
Mayor Murphy.
Here.
Councilor Nguyen.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. Councilor Kennedy. Councilor Leahy.
Here.
Councilor Laurie.
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. We have a special meeting notice. Notice is hereby given as required by Rule 6 of the City of Lowell. Council rules that the Lowell City Council will hold a special meeting of the Lowell City Council in the council chambers on Tuesday, January 29, 2013 at 5 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is discussion of council comments to the Lowell Master Plan. At this time, I'd ask the manager or Mr. Bakey to introduce the master plan, and then we can move quickly to comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll quickly introduce Mr. Bakey and let him and his staff make their presentation on the master plan, where we've been, where we are, and the next steps along the way, and have the council weigh in.
Thank you. I realize we have a limited amount of time tonight, so we actually did not prepare a duplication of the presentation that we did with the council back in December. I'm joined here this evening joined by Allegra Williams, our neighborhood planner, who's been the project manager and the principal author of the plan, and Aaron Clausen, who's our senior planner, and has also been very instrumental in putting the plan together to the state that it's in at this point. Since we met with you in December, we have had a very open comment period, and we have received over 20 pages worth of individual comments on the plan that we're in the process of reviewing and incorporating into a revised draft. We also held a couple of very constructive public meetings that led to some really good, fruitful discussion that's informing the refinement of the document. And we're hoping to have a similar opportunity to hear from you folks this evening, from any thoughts or reactions and specific comments that you have to the document, that we will take that into account as well as we work toward our goal of bringing a final master plan to the Planning Board and the Lowell City Council, ideally sometime toward the beginning of March, for adoption and endorsement, if all goes well. So I think with that, this is your 27 minutes or whatever is left, and we'd like to hear from you.
Any comments? Questions? Mr. Lake, Council Leahy.
Sure. Thank you. I think overall, going through the plan, it's a lot. You could see that a lot of work's gone into it. I guess the concerns that I heard from most people were, and I've asked, they were just wondering if this was a plan of action or a vision, more of a vision of where we want the city to go and where we want the city to be. So I guess I explained to them that obviously to call your office, Mr. Backey, and explain their concerns to you. But I said to them that this is more of a vision of where we want the city to be. Some people were concerned that we weren't going to address maybe some infrastructure, and we were just, for example, going after the trolley system. But I tried to explain to them that this is just a plan of where we would like the city to be in the next 20 years or so, and that their input was appreciated, and that they should call your office, call the city council. But aside from that, looking at the plan, I can see a lot of work went into it. It's a good overview of where we would like the city to be and look, and I appreciate all the work that went into it, the effort. Obviously, we're gonna still work on our infrastructure, the roads, schools. Some people were concerned about the schools, where are we going with the schools? But those details will be worked out through the council over the years versus having a set plan in this booklet. So, but I appreciate the effort. I tried to attend a couple of the meetings. I didn't stay for them all, but I thought they were well attended, especially the one at Lowell. So you had some good interest, and thank you for all the work that you put into this, the administration and Mr. Baker's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager, and then Councilor Laurie.
If I could just comment, Counselor, I think that's a good question as to whether it's a vision which sort of lays it out that, this is what we'd like it to be, and out there somewhere, or whether it's a plan that, this is the steps that we're going to take. I guess I'd see it as somewhere more in between. While it doesn't necessarily have, dates and cost estimates and the like of a plan that you would say that in 2015 we will, do these streets, or we will build these sidewalks, or this park, or this trolley system, or whatever the case may be. It lays out a strategy, a vision, certainly, and a strategy of how we get to that. And I think over the course of the next 10 to 15 years, until the master plan is looked at again, I think you'll see this administration and hopefully subsequent administrations use the master plan as really a guide as to how we make our investments and how we make our strategic decisions. And they'll be bringing those to this council and future councils as sort of a way of moving forward for the city, that we're implementing the master plan by taking these actions. And there's so many different aspects of the master plan that are referenced to, or included within this, that of goals we're trying to achieve and steps to get to those goals. So I'd see it somewhere more in between.
Councilor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I looked at the report, and I agree. I thought it was somewhat generic. There was no set examples of where we're going, but a vision of where we would like to go that's flexible. That's how I looked at it. I thought it was a very good plan. I thought it covered a lot of areas, whether it was transportation, health, recreation. The questions I have, I went to a couple, I believe last year, the sessions, and I went to the last two, one at UMass Lowell and one at the Senior Center. And I want to congratulate Mr. Bakey and the staff, especially Allegra Williams. I think she was the lead on this, and she did an outstanding job. My questions are more, not from the book, but what kind of response did you get from the public, if that's possible? I know I went to two sessions, and they would take the different examples from the vision from the book, and they would go around, and each table would at least have a comment time on, and I was just wondering what the response was.
Well, I think in the most general of terms, the response has been very positive. I think people that we've heard from both through the online comment process as well as at the public meetings, people really seem to be very much supportive of the broad themes and the broad vision that's articulated in the plan, which frankly is not surprising because it isn't really something we dreamt up on our own. It's in fact intentionally the product of what we heard from people through the public outreach that was conducted before we put the draft together. So it was very helpful to have the confirmation that now that we do have a draft out there, that people generally seem to feel that it's reflective of that. We got a lot of very specific comments and questions about individual line items. Like I said, we have about 20 pages of it that we're going through, and people have pointed out for us a number of areas where they've, in some cases, the comments fall in the realm of, I don't really understand this concept. What does this term mean, or what does this idea mean? In other cases, they've questioned, is this the right strategy relative to a different one? In some cases, they've asked, you don't mention this topic or that topic. And what we've been trying to do is actually take all of those comments and actually refine the language to address them, because I think they've been very valuable. I think they've pointed out for us areas where our language may not be very accessible, areas where there's something missing that we can add, and then certainly a few areas where there's some disagreement. There will be in a document like this, there will necessarily be some amount of individual items that not everyone is at full consensus with, but ultimately the final wording, we're trying our best to have it be reflective of the broadest consensus possible, but mindful of the fact that the recommended action needs to have a logical connection to achieving the vision that's desired. And sometimes one of the challenges is things that may seem like an attractive option in the short term may indeed be, but in the long term, they won't move us in the direction that has been sort of established as where we want to end up. And sometimes maybe a different step in the short term is the better one. I would say the majority of the sort of areas where there's substantive disagreement, both in those forums and in the comments we've received, fall in that category, where it's sort of a debate about what's the right short-term step, whereas the long-term goal is consistently, I think, shared.
I want to thank Mr. Bakey for his comments. You know, I said the plan I think I used the word generic. I would want to use the word flexible as we go forward. And I'm very happy about that. And I'm glad we had the public input. You know, I look back at Lowell and the planning stages we went through, at least in my lifetime. For example, with business in the 60s and 70s, if you talked about the future of Lowell, you talked about GE and the mills. In the late 70s and 80s, you probably talked about Wang. And really, none of them are around anymore. The world is changing rapidly and quick. And when I look at this plan and the flexibility that it allows and the public input, I think it sets a good stage for the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Noon?
Thank you, Mayor. I too heard from people, and they understood this to be, as the managers indicated, more like a roadmap for the city as to where the city want to go. During the two public sessions that you had, this is addressed to the Adam Becky with regard to the public comment that you received, the 20-page. What are some of the concerns that that people feel that we should do more of instead of little?
The things we should do more of. I think people take great pride in the city of Lowell, and I think the things that seem to strike the closest to the heart and are most frequently reiterated are that people really want us to be taking the actions that will help to make their neighborhood or the city as a whole a more attractive place for meeting their needs. And a lot of the comments kind of fall into that category of making sure that that we are moving in a direction that they feel will make the city better, make the city a better place, and that's really, frankly, the objective. So that I think works out. Obviously, that's good to hear, and it works out fairly well for us.
What are those directions that they feel that we should go?
Well, I think people are very concerned about preserving the character and integrity of their neighborhoods. People are very concerned about preserving a kind of sustainable economic model for the future of the city. People do seem to be very concerned about and appreciate the assets that the city has, whether those are cultural or artistic or environmental assets or the historic assets of the city. And there does seem to be a pretty broad recognition that those are the assets that actually will drive the city forward. Those are the positive things about the city that will make people want to invest in the city, make people want to stay in the city. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting those things and we're enhancing and strengthening those things.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Mercia.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Adam, and your staff for putting this great masterpiece together to some degree, because I did look at it cover to cover. Very interesting. It's a master plan. It's a guide that sets the city to a goal to make the city a better place, and that's number one. But on the whole, I see something a little bit different, and I don't know if anybody express these views, but it bothers me to some degree because what we see today is new growth in buildings and an expansion of a university, and that's good. But in the long run, I hear other things from people, and I hear that it's all well and good, but what is the spinoff? Is the spinoff going to generate some sort of a goal for the businesses downtown? I see that people think, and I can understand their feeling, that with this new growth comes taxable property that is now off the rolls and is into the hands of new growth, revitalization, and it's not setting a tax base. And that is troubling a little bit to me and people that I talk to, although it's wonderful to see a university that didn't have growth before, and I like that, but I think there's a time when we have to set some sort of a policy as a city that, you know, you have to stop somewhere because you're taking what was once vital taxable income and you're creating a dormitory or something that isn't going to generate any money. Having said that, I think we must set goals in the city whereby things complement each other. I don't want to have an entity in the city whereby it's a monopoly and businesses suffer. I don't want that to happen, and I can see that coming along whereby someone controls this city in such a way that it complements within, but not the businesses. And I don't want a city where businesses are going to be discouraged by that and move out. And I can see this happening, and I don't want, if you can understand, I don't have anything against anybody, but I see a vision that could be something that I don't want to go there, if you can understand. I don't want to set goals and policies whereby we over fee and over permit and overcharge and burden people just for the sake of generating money and discourage them to move out. I don't want that to happen, and I can see somehow that's happening. Although I'm being a little bit critical, I think every aspect has to come out of this, not just the good, but we have to share our views. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope that everything I said is wrong, because I don't want that to happen. I want things to happen in the city that complements each other so we all grow together, and not just one entity grows and dominates and crushes the small guy. I don't want that. And I don't want people to be discouraged by coming to the city and being overburdened with new fees and new fines and new permits and new this and new that, and we're suffocating them. I don't want that vision for the city. And I want to have property grow, like to take an old school building that's dilapidated and should be torn down. I want to see new growth. We put a commercial space and add to the tax base. I want to see that continue. That's what I want. That's my vision for this city, and that's my comment.
Thank you. Councilman Donta.
Yes, it is a vision for our future, and it's a weave of many things we want to do, and changing one thing affects others. I know we want to deal with infrastructure. We want to move our traffic through our city more easily and reduce the congestion. At the same time, we don't want them to just move through and that be our goal. We want to improve our business districts, and those are often the same streets that are very congested. We need people, when they want to be able to stop and partake of whatever's going on in that business district. And we need to make those improvements in our neighborhood business districts to make them look more appealing to the customers and get economic development in that way. Also, as we grow our infrastructure, and most of it is getting people across the river, but also we do have to maintain our buildings, and we're going to have to look to the future of our schools, that even though we've replaced nearly all of them, they're all becoming 20-plus years old. And they're still in fine shape for now, but 20 years from now, when they're 40 years old, how do we deal with it? We don't want to go, hopefully, through a phase where we're doing all of them at once again. We need to cycle through them, and if we did one every 2 years, then in 50 years' time, we would have cycled through all of those buildings. There's certainly issues with where DPD and the police department now are. It's overcrowded for all the functions that are there. Maybe not the best space for either the police department or the fire department. And so we're going to need a plan to deal with that in the future. And so a lot of this is addressed in this master plan. And it just gives us, or puts it on the radar screen, that we need to deal with these things. And many things sooner rather than later. So those are my input, is that we need to improve our infrastructure to reduce congestion on our roadways. We need to improve our business district, and we need to take care of our buildings and city functions so that we can improve those functions in the future. And I believe those are being addressed in the master plan. And it's a good plan going forward. And of course, input's always welcome from the community, which has taken place. And I look forward to seeing the final plan in March.
Thank you. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a lot, I guess, in here I like. It's hard to object when certain things are in general language, but to me, you know, the focus on healthy and sustainable local economy is right where we need to be. I mean, I know the first priority, or at least up front, was the strength of our neighborhoods and neighborhood character, and I think that's no surprise given the planning process we went through a few years ago. That's clearly people's top priority. But these things can feed off each other. I mean, we're going to have strong neighborhoods if we have a strong economy, if people are working, if people have job opportunities. They're going to invest in their homes, they're going to invest in their neighborhoods. And so I like the emphasis on a strong local economy. And frankly, I think part of that is integration with the University of Massachusetts. I think the growth there is overwhelmingly a net positive for the city. It's not maybe 100%, but far and away we are far better off to have the University of Massachusetts Lowell here than we would be if we did not have it. I think as we look for the future of where job growth is going to come from in this part of the country, a lot of it's going to be driven by innovation in universities. We don't know what the next Wang is going to be, or the next Polaroid, or the next Raytheon, but I think we have a better chance of whatever the next big employer is, if we have a better chance of it being here in Lowell or in Greater Lowell if it comes out of UMass Lowell. So I'm very pleased to see the activity that's going on at UMass Lowell, and I'm pleased to see us taking steps to try and capitalize on that. So I do like a lot that's in the plan. I did have a few comments from people, and my question would be, you know, where do we go next? You know, for example, this is not really related to either one of those two things I just talked about, but, you know, there's things in here about encouraging local agricultural activity. People use, you know, growing their own food and things like that. One thing here is consider the adoption of zoning that would support that sort of thing. So we're going to see from the administration, you know, sort of periodic initiatives that come forward, or I suppose councilors can pick and choose certain things here and push as councilors are so inclined to do. But is there an implementation phase that's contemplated here, or just a series? I mean, it's probably not one big thing, but I imagine there's a series of things that could happen over time.
Mr. Manager.
Council, from my perspective, this will be as I said earlier, this will be a guiding document for us as we move forward on things like the capital budget, on zoning, on initiatives that we may have with the business community, the neighborhoods, the university, that we come in and we speak to them in terms of their merits, and particularly how they tie back to the master plan. And you know, I think Mr. Bakey and I haven't gone so far yet as to start talking about every aspect of how we're going to implement this, but I could even see us putting something together in the, certainly not in the short term, but later on this year, where we come in with a more of a, how we're going to implement certain portions of this in one document, but then start picking them off one by one. Councilman Dodds just talked about the JFK Civic Center and the needs that we have there. I think that, and I think we spoke about that at a recent meeting, the need to do something, I think, specifically about the fire department. I can see something like that coming in the very near future to begin. In fact, I've already started talking to some of the staff people about this, coming in with a strategy of developing a plan of how we deal with the issues that we have over there. Looking at our public safety functions. Are all our fire stations where they should be? What would be the process we would go to locate a new central fire station? What options do we have for that building then to be utilized as a police and a larger police station taking over the fire space? Does it make sense for the DPW to still be there? The plan would, a study would look at that, and I can see us coming in. And in fact, I've already spoken to Mr. Bakey and Chief LaValle and Chief Pitter about this, of trying to put something like that together sometime this year. And there would be a cost to that, but it would allow us at least to start to look forward to what type of land we need to assemble and what type of borrowing we'd need to do to make that a reality. That would tie in with, or certainly tie in with what we're attempting to do here with the master plan and tie in with our overall infrastructure needs. So that's just an example of what I see happening. But I think coming back to the council on a regular basis of how we're implementing this makes a tremendous amount of sense.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion, comments? Seeing none, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilor Laurie. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. We stand adjourned.
I'm on the hot seat.